Hi, welcome again to another program of Yeshiva Classroom, and we have a lot to talk about, a lot of information to give over to you, and we have a lot of constructive criticism to the community, and especially the day schools. So stay with us, and maybe we can get some information, and if you want to call us, always welcome to hear from you all and to speak with you, and perhaps you can help with this programming going to other areas of the country. But basically, we're going to start off with Soul World, S-O-U-L, World, and the thing is food, soul food. We talk about soul, our soul. What is a soul? Now, if you give over a present to a loved one, right? You give over a present to a loved one, and the person enjoys that present, that gift, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good. And that is the soul. What is it? Is it your heart, your liver, your lung, your organ? That's the soul, S-O-U-L. And the soul needs food. The soul needs food, and the way that a Jew gets food for the soul is learning Torah. Now, it's very easy to say learning Torah. What does that mean? Open up a book and start reading Torah? Yes, but it's much more than that. It's the way that the Torah and the Talmud is given over, and that is the significance of learning. Learning Torah is equal to so many mitzvahs, and we want to tell you, we're speaking to a wide audience from people that have not received Jewish education, to many who are learned. So you have to bear with us. And basically, what we want to do is show you the significance and get that feeling that your soul experiences when it learns Torah. And the best way to get that feeling is to read it, learn it, and pick out those happy questions, kashas, and terutzim. What do I mean by that? Let's give an example. We have to pray so mani different tefillahs all day long, from the time we wake up. Modeh ani lefonecha melech chai v'kayam shechezato bi nishmosi b'hemlo. So that's the first thing. We have to, from as soon as we wake up, we have to, we speak and give thankfulness, gratitude for our lives and our well-being. And it goes on throughout the day whenever we start to pray, the morning prayer. And it takes so many tefillahs that we're speaking of. Basically, we're asking for the praise. We praise God, and we ask for that's a section, and then we request, make a request. That's part of the prayer service in the morning, and so forth and so on. And then we're going down to breakfast, and then we're eating. And we have to say a prayer over the food, different types of food, like an apple, or it's an orange, or something that grows from the ground, like the tomato or the grapefruit. And here's the grapefruit, right? So the point is, and it continues all day long, even till we go to bed. The last thing we do is, before we go to bed, we say the Shema Yisrael prayer. It's such a significant prayer. We want to get into that. The question is, all day long, I have to praise and request and give gratitude for all the things that God gave us, Why? The whole day, from morning to night, from morning to when we wake up until we go to sleep. That's the question. How come we are doing all of these things all day long? And that's the question. Now that makes you think, right? And that's part of learning Torah. It makes you think. Well, so now you want to know an answer. One answer is that the reason we are saying so many prayers and requests and acknowledging God's wonderful gifts to man is because we want to have God continuously in our presence in this world. And that equates or is like the next world, where the soul world continues. And he wants to continue, the soul wants to continue with all the good thoughts and questions and answers that he received. So that's the terrorist, that's the answer. That's the answer is, because we want to have God in our midst and create that atmosphere, that environment that we hope to duplicate after 120 years at our demise. So you have the question and an answer, and you want to feel good. You feel good about that. Hey, you say it over to yourself and see if you don't feel good. And then what else did I write down over here? What is it? So and this is being recorded on November 11th, 2022. And we just finished the Parsha Vayishlach, and in that said, I'm going to give you a question and answer for soul food. And in that Parsha, it says over there that Jacob wrestled with the angel of Esau, his brother. It was Esau's angel, his what have you, that represented him, and it was an evil entity, and some say it was Satan that wrestled with Jacob, and Jacob continues to hold fast, and that we can bring to many different subjects, tangents, but what I want to bring out is the question, right? The soul food, the soul food. The question is, how come the Satan did not attack Abraham or Isaac? Why did he wait for Jacob to attack and to wrestle with him? That's the question. Why not the other of us, the other fathers, Abraham and Isaac? Right? Does that make you feel? That's the question. And the question gives us, it gets a good feeling. And that's soul food. Now, even to get a better understanding, better feeling, you get the teretz, or the answer. And one of the answers given is that Satan wanted to stop the congregations of Jewish people multiplying and increasing. So, Abraham was noted for his kindness and his good deeds that he did throughout his lifetime, and giving of himself and of his property and his money for charity. And Satan wasn't afraid of that terminating in a people unless he had alone, just good deeds alone. So Satan didn't attack Abraham. So you say, well, how about Isaac? Why didn't the Satan attack Isaac? And the question is, well, look, Isaac was a person that represents offerings, korbanos. He was a korban. So now that we don't have offerings, we have prayer substituting for the offerings. We pray regarding many things, and amongst them is the concept of prayer but the Satan said that alone is not going to do it. It's not going to create a people, because we see in Bronx, like the last 50 years, there were so many, or at least 100 years, there were so many synagogues that were all over the Bronx, like 2 or 3 on one block. And what happened? They're gone, finished. But when it comes to Jacob, Jacob is a dweller of a tent, and meaning that he is the one that learns Torah. And learning Torah is our best guarantee that there will be a congregation of Jewish people throughout the world, wherever they are. So that's why that's why Satan attacked Jacob and not the other 2 fathers. So that you have to that you have to go over in your mind. The question, how come he attacked Jacob and not the other 2 fathers, Abraham and Isaac, right? And we gave you the reason. Abraham was noted for his kindness and giving, and Isaac was noted for his prayer, but that's not going to represent the Jewish people. So that's why Satan attacked Jacob, because Jacob learned, and that will ensure the continuation of the Jewish people. So I have a question and a answer, and that makes you feel good. That is the feeling of your soul, and those feelings you take with you after 120 years. Now, also soul food is in the Talmud. You're getting a little bit more deep, but not really that deep. And before we speak about the kasha and soul food for the Talmud, I want to speak about another question. The question is, how come this grapefruit, a citrus fruit, has all kind of thick peelings on it to take it out to get to the actual food? You can't eat the skin or the white material under it. It's like coatings protecting, and you don't have that with an apple or a pear. You just bite into it and the skin is there. So that's the question, right? Very, very simple question. How come this fruit has a thick skin, right? The question, imbibe that in your psyche, right? That's a question. Answer is, if it didn't have these external coverings, and you took the grapefruit and you took a bite into it, and it didn't have the sections underneath that divide the different sections, then all the juice would fall out. They would sprue all over yourself. So God knew and God saw what would happen, so therefore He made sections inside, so the juice wouldn't spill all out and all over you. So that's a kasha and a tereth. That's soul food. That's soul food, and that's what we have to pick up. We have to pick up soul food. That's what we're supposed to do in our all day, to pick up soul food, so we can accumulate good additions to to what we bring to the next world. Well, that's all the way we can bring the good deeds and the soul that accumulated all these great kasha and terutzim of learning Torah. So that's soul food. That's why it's so important. That's why it's so important for everyone, especially retirees. They say, I'm going to sit and work in my chair till I can't work anymore. You have to work on your retirement nest egg, building a future for your retirement age after 120 years when you get into the next world. And you get the next world. Oh, I don't know anything about next world. I don't know anything about soul. They operated, they couldn't find a soul, the biggest surgeons in the world. But the Torah tells us, the Torah is like a symphony. It has all different kinds of parts in it. And it's played together. We bring that symphony of music, full embodiment of all the pieces for our soul world, and not like Mozart was the one who composed symphonies one after another, just non-stop, while the other gentleman, the composer, he had to write over and over the many scores and thoughts that came into his mind. But look, that is so important that we should dwell on that much more and give you a much more interest into soul, S-O-U-L. And you know, the kasha, that's what we got. That's what we're learning. That's what we're learning. They're getting the questions and imbibe that in your psyche and into your soul, and you feel it. Write it down so you can review it. Remember, we gave you three different types of questions and answer. Food for the soul. Food for the soul. Why do we pray long prayers all day long? We're praying with brachas. Why? Number two, we told you about the Satan attacking Jacob. Why not Abraham and Isaac and with the grapefruit? So now I want to give you another soul food, the Talmud, right? The Talmud and the different questions that were put down in the Talmud, and all the questions that were asked and commented on from the time of the last prophet Malachi to 1,000 years later, Rav Ashi, who codified and put the Talmud into writing. Now we want to go into soul food, right? Soul food, and we learn Talmud every time we're on, right? And the kasha is they have a lot of questions, a lot of food for the soul, and one of the food is the very first line, Me'amosa kor neshama bi'arvim. From when to when do we learn Torah in the evening, right? So the question, that's a good question. At what time? 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So the Torah tells us it's when the 3 stars came out. 3 stars came out. So that's the question, right? From when to when do we learn Torah, say the Shema Yisrael prayer in the evening? When the 3 stars come out. When the 3 stars come out. But the question is, but why didn't the Torah write this when the 3 stars come out? Why did it say, the answer that the Mishnah preceding the Gemara says, from the time that the Kohanim enter to eat their truma? Well, why did it say 3 stars come out? Everybody holds that. The answer is, that's a soul food, that's a question. You feel good, that's a good question that you're going to ask. And that even if you don't get the answer, the question is good. You feel good when you got when you're able to grab onto something like that good question. And the answer is from the time that the Kohanim entered to eat their truma. And the Gemara tells you that why it answered in those words is because there are things by the way, meaning there's other things you could learn instead of just putting down a fact. We can learn about Kohanim, where they were, did they were spiritually unclean, Tomei, right? And how did they get clean? They had to stay until the 3 stars come out. We learn about Truma, then they could eat the holy food, Truma, which is 2%. So that's the answer. That's the answer. You got a good question. In the first line of the Talmud, yeah, learning Torah is the best of all the commandments. It equals to many commandments. Why? Because it gives us soul food, and soul food is so important. It makes us feel good on this world, and it makes us feel good in the soul world after 120 years. And then unfortunately, our brethren have not taken this bait and understood the importance of it, and the spiritual leadership, whether it's in the day schools or in the synagogue, they're not doing it. They're not doing the job. People that want to know when's the Kiddush, right? They had it. I get these questions and synopsis form from many times from Rabbi Miller when he has short paragraphs on the Parsha of the week. Very important to buy that book, Bereshit. Very easy reading, and certain things that I really enjoy, I like to give over to other people, and we should do. All of us should do the same thing, to learn and to give over. I mean, it's one thing to have different Chabad houses, but all throughout the country, be good. But they do the common mistake. They're all speakers. Speak. The student doesn't do any teaching, any learning. He can't give over. He has to speak out loud. And what's this sign I have? 2 out of 3 students, graduates of day school, leave the fold, don't keep the Shabbos. Now, I don't know where they did the survey, but Pew is a reputable organization. It's a reputable organization. And I don't know if they did day school graduates like from one extreme to the other extreme. We have in the 5 towns, we have Brandeis on one extreme to the Cheder, where everything is geared to the learning, and secular part of the schooling is minuscule. The Cheder and the Torah. So you have 2 extremes. So that's what the Pew study says. Now, what's happening? They have the smartest businesses. The smartest businesses know how to cut costs and present a product which is profitable, right? They all know how to do that. They work hard. They're very smart. They're masters in business and what have you, right? But you know what they do? There's organizations. One comes to mind. I want to forget before. A lot of times I forget things. Beethoven and Mozart and Beethoven, which you spoke earlier, Beethoven didn't do, he had to concentrate on everything. So we have to, when he put it together, a symphony, he had to do it, rewrite it, a score over and over again until he got it right. And that's how we are to do with a piece of Torah. You know, if we don't get it, what's the question? The question doesn't pop out of your head until you work on it. Most of the questions. But also Mozart, he produced a lot continuously. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't want to get back to that. So what happened? There's the organization. The businesses. They're very smart and cost conscious, and everyone is a very intelligent human being. But with all that they have, they still call on outside sources to teach them and to find out where they faltered, and how to improve. One comes to mind, McCloskey. There are several of them. They go to the businesses love them because they pay them, and the businesses are made even more profitable. Yeah, and they point out different failures. Now here we have, this sign says, wake up, day schools. Where did Pew do his studies? Where did they do the studies? You know? And what did they, what schools are they? And how was our school? So you know, what did they, 3 out of 4 left the fold. Now, offhand, without charging, you know, none of the day schools want you to go into their day-to-day activities. You know, the Wyatt Yeshiva University, they have graduates that are very successful, of rabbis and doctors and everything, but there are so they say, well, you know, I was successful. I'm going to give to that Yeshiva University type of hashkafa and outlook, and I'll contribute to them. But what percentage are following and live a life of Torah? What percentage of those? Or you go to the Chofetz Chaim, has their derech, their way, but they know that that's going to be good. But I want to show you, I don't need to go into the school system, but look, I know I grew up in going to school, and I know that there are guys that are not interested in the subject, and they're not serious about the whole bit, and they leave the fold. Right, there are a percentage of that, and what I suggest is they have to have small groups. Maybe they even do that today. Small groups within the class where you have a private grouping of 4 or 5 to go over things you know, maybe a late bloomer, because I can tell you of a relative that he was he was not told he was told to repeat the 2nd grade over again. Now, you know, it was a psychological effect. The parent didn't want to do that, and so he moved the boy along with the rest of the class, and bottom line, he just slid through, and he graduated with all the graduates, and that was it. You know, and nobody's gonna go over and spend that much time with you if they don't have the funding. But that individual became one of the top financial experts. He wasn't slow, but he was a late bloomer. And that's what the day school's got to watch out for, the late bloomers. They have the resource room, and they have to catch these kids, and they have to keep on working on them. They have to keep on working on them. Because at least we have a start that parents decided to send them to a school, but I don't want to dwell on that, and just going to pick out different suggestions. Legal holidays, you know, if the day school, the yeshiva, are so concerned about their students, then, you know, all these days during the year, you know, you bring out the Xmas. That's when the God-man was born, and that's a legal holiday. So what do? They give, it's a half a day only with the Jewish subjects, but being that the teachers are given off, it's a half day for the students. Why should there be a half a day for the students? Let the rabbis teach their afternoon sessions also. You got, yeah, right? You have Xmas, right? When the God-man was born. You have New Year's, the Gentile New Year, on their calendar, on our calendar. Yeah, so that was 8 days after his birth, so that was the bris milah, that was the circumcision. He had the biggest bris milah that you could think of. But that was their God, and that was their man God. So then you have Martin Luther King, also a religious figure of a different faith. It's a holiday, legal holiday, half a day. Students at the afternoon sessions are dismissed. There's no English teachers, but you should bring the rabbis in there to teach the afternoon session. Right? You have Martin Luther King Day. You have President's Day, another holiday. Right? We can talk about the presidents for a couple minutes, sure. But the rest of the half a day session should not be wasted by letting the students free. I mean, there's 10 legal holidays, I think, throughout the year. Whatever. That's one suggestion. Right? Legal holidays. Full day sessions. Legal holidays, full day sessions for the day school, because they need all the instruction they can get, and especially individual instruction. And that is especially true to hire these proctors to give to small groups instruction. And maybe they're doing it now. But in the group, it's not the rabbi, the proctor doing all the teaching. He has to have the student has got to open his mouth and say, and to speak. You know, my son over there, and I also have no interleague sports with the basketball, bang, bang, bang. What is that going to be? What's that going to do for you? Nothing. You want to have activities to intra sports in your session of during the day. You know, shoot the ball around, have 2-on-2 or whatever you want to do, have a play, or even learn self-defense courses. But the children don't, the students don't want it. Who cares what the students want? They come to school to get a Jewish education. And what else I have over here? Inter-league sports. You know, you have to get uniforms. You have to practice. You have to travel to different sites throughout the metropolitan area to play away games. And you're knocked down. How much time do you have to review what you learned? And I definitely would not recommend any school that has interleague sports competition. That's for sure. So that's what's so important. And because the goal of of the student is to love to learn Torah. To love to learn Torah. And that is, for instance, I gave you several kashas and terusim, and that you can you review, write them down, and you review them when you're waiting for a subway or wherever you have to go. Now, you look, Chabad, you know, they're very successful, so to speak. But you know, I've spoken to people who live in Crown Heights. As a matter of fact, someone did a manuscript for my book that I published years ago, which I don't like and I don't even advertise. But anyway, she told me, may she rest in peace, that there are many Chabad groups in Crown Heights that have synagogues, and some of them you have a talking going on away from learning Torah. I mean, check out the Chabad group synagogue on Shabbos in this neighborhood. So the point is, everyone is not born with an aptitude to love spiritually Torah and these things. As a matter of fact, I bring out another question that comes to mind. You know, in the Sedra, was it Vayetze, where or was it Vayishlach, where the matriarch Leah was given a husband, Yaakov, and she had a tzaras, a rival, and she had another woman, sister, that she had a marriage to Jacob. He had two wives. So the point is that on her description, it says Ani and Anochi. What's the difference between Ani, I, and Anochi, I? The first Ani, it means I, describing your basic self, and the Anochi is the I, it means I, right? Is the one that has a charge, a role that was given to her and given to every individual, a role that she is to accomplish in this lifetime, and even though she had difficulties sharing Yaakov with her sister, still she persevered, and even though many difficulties arise, we have to persevere, because everyone was given a role. Every Jew was given a role to accomplish in this world, and that's why he has to look away, look aside, and he was given the aptitudes to accomplish that role that was given to him. Just like Leah, our mother, was given a role, and she persevered. And even though we persevere in that we may have a family member who is handicapped or chronically ill, or losing a job, or having no income, or having all kind of difficulties, but you have to persevere, just like Leah persevered, and she was buried with her husband Yaakov, unlike Rachel, and she had many children, and most of them are our descendants of whom we are descended from. So, you know, before I forget, I wanted to tell you that if you like this this program, you know, there are many people that would enjoy it, and especially the first part with the soul food. So tell your friends to ask them to try tuning in on the Yeshiva Classroom. Basically, it's on the Google search, Yeshiva Classroom, and see if they can like it, and this way spread some of those important thoughts that we went over today. So, yeah, I suggested, funding for the small groups of individuals that would need, that are late bloomers, or slow in picking up things, or don't have the interest, So we have to they need more funding, that's for sure. But they're not going to take everyone's out for their own school, and I can understand that. But look, these are the problems that we must face. These are problems that we must face. Now this is emphasizing the fact that person has to speak what he learned, because it's not going to come out the same way. And if you speak it out loud, you say, hey, I'm missing something, and you're going to have to go back and look at it again and review it so you can get a clear picture. I mean, I myself, I don't give a clear picture of a lot of things, but I'll tell you one thing, I try to review. And try, when I lie down and, I'm not like a tzaddik. What did I want to bring out in Chabad? I brought out that they have people that go away, don't want it. You think that every Chabad is ready as a soldier to go out to the world wherever they send me? No, it's not like that. There's some people that never made it, and they're still stuck on the first base. So it's important that we fund these day schools, and they should have internal scrutiny to see where things could be saved, and cut corners so to save money, right? So now we want to go into Judaism does God's will. Judaism does God's will. What does it mean, God's will? God is prejudiced. He doesn't like the rest of the humanity. No, that's not true. As a matter of fact, when God created the world and he created Adam, the first man, he gave him. It was for all mankind. There were no Jews around, and his job was to spread the knowledge of his instruction using his free will. I mean, he has free will. Freedom. He's given freedom, and that freedom is translated into free will. He can do whatever he wants, but there are restrictions, there are rules, right? God spoke to Adam. He said, don't eat from this tree, right? So he had conversations with Adam. And the Gemara and other commentators bring down some of the things that Adam was taught, but he knew that he was to go to strive for perfection. He knew that he would strive for perfection or holiness, right? That was his job in this world, and he was given that chore in the garden. Right? We know that there was a garden. God created a garden for him. All he wanted to do is to get a more perfect, more holy, perfection, holiness. But often we see that that's not a motivational tool that we can have in our mind all day long. That we have to be perfect, we have to be holy. So God made a manifestation of that, and he made it made man to show gratitude by saying the brachas, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Baruch, again, atah, you, Hashem Elokeinu, Lord our God, King of the universe. And then we go back to the first word, Baruch, who is the source of all blessing and goodness. Shahako, everything was created bidvara, by his word. Everything was created by his word. So that was Adam's job, and he spread that information to all the other inhabitants of the world, right? So he was also given rules to follow. You just can't do something without rules and regulations. You can't have a highway. You can't go down a highway without any road sign, speed limit, miles per hour, exit signs, warning of railroad crossing or other warnings. So that's the same thing. I mean, man was given freedom, one, and two, he was given rules in which to abide by, and Adam gave over this information to all of mankind, right? But we see that he didn't make it, and we don't want to go into the apple and how he broke the rules, and now it says over there in the Torah in English. Read it in English. Look at get a calendar. Call me. Yeah, so that was it. So, but what happened? The mankind took a turn for the worse, and even though they knew God spoke to Adam and gave him instruction, they went downhill, and as a result, God destroyed the world. It's called collective punishment, and he saved Noah. He saved Noah, but there were other righteous people too, just like in the Second World War, in the Holocaust. When you have collateral punishment, the majority of the people are wiped out. So they were wiped out, and we started a new era, a new chapter with Noah. He was saved from the flood, and he worked together with God on the Noah, he's Tomin Hoya Bidaraisa, Tomin Yahoya Bidaraisa, Noah, he's Tzaddik. Noah was a righteous man, and he worked with God. Noah walked with God, not in front of him, but walked together. They made up the 7 mitzvahs of Noah. And Noah wasn't Jewish, but the Gentile is to follow, and the Jew, or to follow as part of our commandments, the 7 mitzvahs of Noah that was formulated together with God, right? They were formulated with God. And they are that there is a God without form, right? No man God, a God without form. And as a matter of fact, there's Noahite congregations throughout the world. They're not Jewish, and they're not Gentile, but they're Noahite. So anyway, he had these 7 mitzvahs, and it formulated with God, and he spread this information to all throughout the world, all mankind who grew up after him. And you know, we don't expect to get everybody, but at least the majority, because God was with Noah. He walked with Noah together, not like Abraham who walked in front of him, but God walked with Noah. and the 7 mitzvahs, right? That God has no form. Number 2, you shouldn't blaspheme. Give respect to God and don't treat it as if it's an everyday, mundane type of relationship. Number 3, I should not murder, right? Number 4, you should not commit adultery. Number 5, not stealing and kidnapping. Number 6 is to set up a court system, right? Courts, judges. The courtroom is not for rehabilitation. Courtroom is for punishment if you transgress. And the 7th is the cruelty to animals, that you should not take, for instance, a limb from a living animal. So those are 7 mitzvahs of Noah. But what happened after several years? The astrology, mythology, and idol worshiping took over, overwhelmed Noah and his descendants. Just out of it. God said he wouldn't destroy the earth again. He wouldn't destroy the world again by water. But what is he to do now? And God saw the resume of Abraham, and he picked Abraham because he knew what a righteous person he was, and he gave him the commandments. He made a covenant with Abraham and his descendants. We, the Jewish people, are to live by the rules of the covenant to our forefathers and then to our entire body that stood in front of Mount Sinai. And years later, 40 years later, prior to entering the land of Israel, Canaan, there was more collateral punishment, and the 7 nations of Canaan were wiped out. 7 nations of Canaan were wiped out. Collateral punishment. We have the Holocaust, we have Noah, destruction of the world, all of these important subjects, right? So where were we? So Abraham was given. So he was given the Torah. Abraham knew the Torah on his own. He figured it out on his own. You look at Genesis 26:5, chapter 26:5, and it says over there, before the Torah was given, Abraham observed all the commandments of the Torah before it was given. So this is what he gave over to his son. And over there in chapter 28 in Deuteronomy, write it down, look it up. Chapter 28 in Deuteronomy, it talks about the first 14 sentences that you will be blessed and given an idyllic lifestyle if you observe the commandments and live by the Torah. The first 14 sentences describe that. And what happens in the 15th century? 15th sentence, and if not, you will have 98 types of punishments will befall you. And then in 28:69, it says, with these words I seal a covenant with you, with those that are not here, and besides the covenant that I made with you at Sinai, in Horeb. It says Horeb. Where was Horeb? Horeb was in, Mount Sinai was in the vicinity in Horeb, that area. It's called Horeb, around the around Mount Sinai. That's what they learned for 40 years. They learned how to obey it, and we are responsible for it. And if we're not, we'll have a punishment, and we'll see a collateral punishment, God forbid, like the Holocaust happened. Look, there's much more that I can speak about, but we have to remember that we have to set up study halls. Study halls are very important. And you say, well, look, what about today? All the killing and murders and all throughout the world, all kinds of killings, and taking advantage of numerous tyrannical forces that rule and not in a democratic way, like Iran and many of the Arab countries. And you say, well, how about anti-Semitism? Why is that? I mean, well, the Jews didn't hurt anybody, but they still have anti-Semites. They had on Queens College, they had a guy speaking with a megaphone talking how evil the Jews are, right on Queens College for a couple of days till he was arrested. They're going to pass laws, and they're going to, you're going to, everything. They got thousands of blacks marching against the real Jews in Brooklyn. And throughout the world, especially in the Arab countries, the dictators in Russia and Eastern Europe. So let's pass laws. Let's build a chair and study the problem. No, that's not the problem. Study the problem is if you get the Jews to learn Torah, and the purpose of anti-Semitism is to get those Jews that are wayward to bring them back. To say that there is a God and the Jewish people are the way to life and this world and next world. And that's why it's so important to reach out, because it says over there in one of the 24 books, Mishlei, Proverbs, it says over there that the heart of a king, the heart of kings is like a hose in the hand of God. He can turn it either way he wants. The hearts of kings or leaders are like a hose, like a water hose in the hand of God. He can turn it either which way. And that's why we have people that arise like Joe Biden, who is an evil person, and therefore he was brought out to be a ruler of the country, and even though he gave, he did such disrespectful as a guest to the country of Israel. He just took off wherever he went. If this belonged to the Arab countries, he put the Arab flag on it, and who were his puppets? The two Jewish puppets they had. That are with him, the Secretary of State, such a high position, Secretary of State, a Jew. His father's a Holocaust survivor, and that's Blinken, right? It's such a powerful job, but he's telling we want a two-state solution. We want a two-state solution where they can cut and divide, and that's given to us by God. And then the NIDES, N-I-D-E-S, NIDES, an ambassador to Israel. We want Israel to furnish, to be a democratic country without any other groups to water down the Jewishness of the group. To water down the Jewishness of the group. That's why we want to divide the country. Those are the puppets of Joe Biden. Right? Joe Biden, his puppets is Blinken and NIDES. All they want to do is cut up and give away the land. Instead, they should be worrying about the land that the United States of America took out from the Indians. Took over millions of acres of land, just took it over, and they have an Indian affairs group that is a non-entity, just like the people in Puerto Rico. They choose their representative, but they can't vote in Congress. Guam has a representative. Guam has a governor which they can overrule. Give freedom to the people. And don't go preach the hypocrite and trying to do something that God gave to the Jewish people. Look, you can write me over at this address. We're a charitable organization, Torah for All, and it's 349 Rugby in Cedarhurst. And you can call this number, leave a message. If you get no one there, 295-4233, 295-4233. With that, I end my program. Wish you all the best.